America continues to find out what loyal fans in Lincoln have come to expect year after year, the tradition that is Nebraska Cornhusker football. For 19 straight years, finishing in the top 10, 20 straight bowl appearances, 27 consecutive winning seasons, all NCAA records, Big 8 conference titles, and 41 first-team All-American selections. And with an impressive 158 victories, the Huskers' Tom Osborne's 85% winning average places him second among active Division 1A coaches. The big play. Quick strike offense. Combined with a stingy, punishing defense, continues to earn respect nationwide as this all-American tradition gets ready to enter its 100th year. Cornhusker Football 1988 is presented by First Tier Banks of Nebraska. While replacing almost half the starting team in '88, the Cornhuskers entered the Kickoff Classic in East Rutherford, New Jersey, ranked number 2 in the country. Facing the 3-time defending Southwest Conference champion Texas A&M Aggies, the Huskers came alive in the second half behind game MVP Steve Taylor.
I think that we saw that our team had a lot of tenacity and was able to come from behind and play in a very physical contest, and a lot of poise from Steve Taylor, our quarterback, who was rushed very hard during the ball game and still held up and played very well.
Taylor passed for 125 yards and ran for 34 more to become the top career rusher among Nebraska quarterbacks. Outside linebacker Broderick Thomas led the standout defensive effort with a career-high 14 tackles.
We were probably about as good as anybody in the country defensively, and we're one of the top 3 or 4 offensive teams in the country, and a good kicking game on top of it makes you a very good team.
Sophomore place kicker Greg Barrios connected on 3 consecutive field goals, won a 48-yard kickoff classic record to ensure the 24-13 victory. The following week in Lincoln, Nebraska rolled over Utah State 63-13. Quarterback Steve Taylor threw for 143 yards and a TD. Both Taylor and Broderick Thomas were named Big 8 Offensive and Defensive Players of the Week. Game 3 saw the second-ranked Cornhusker team face UCLA in front of over 84,000 people at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. Playing before an ABC national television audience, Nebraska got off to its poorest start in several decades of championship football. Despite outscoring UCLA in the final 3 periods, the Huskers suffered what would be their only loss of the regular season. Back in Lincoln, the team rebounded 47-16 against Arizona State as several Huskers took the spotlight.
It was pretty close in the first half. I remember, I think at halftime it was 30-16, then we just came out and wore them down in the second half.
College football's most prolific running attack saw 3 Husker backs gain over 100 yards. I-back Ken Clark led the way with 122 yards, followed by quarterback Taylor's 116 and Terry Rogers' 113. On the defense, Dana Brinson got Nebraska rolling with this 75-yard punt return in front of a national ESPN TV audience. Safety Tim Jackson intercepted 2 Arizona State passes and won Big 8 Defensive Player of the Week honors. In front of another home sellout crowd versus the Rebels of Nevada, Las Vegas, the Cornhuskers closed out the non-conference portion of their schedule with an impressive 48-6 rout, piling up an even 500 total yards. The Huskers then traveled to Lawrence, Kansas to meet the Jayhawks for their Big 8 opener. Nebraska cruised to its 20th consecutive win over Kansas, 63-10, scoring TDs on each of its first 5 possessions, including the 64-yard punt return by Morgan Gregory. Steve Taylor reached 2 career milestones. He became the 5th Husker to top 4,000 total offensive yards and the 3rd to record 50 career TDs. Following a lopsided victory at Kansas, the Huskers faced an early season Big 8 showdown between 2 of the nation's highest scoring teams, Oklahoma State and Nebraska.
A lot of big plays in the game. Kenny Clark, I think, our I-back, came of age in that game. Steve Taylor played a great football game. It was really unfortunate it wasn't on television because some of our players played very well, Broderick Thomas, and then of course Barry Sanders did well, and Hartley Dykes, and also Gundy from Oklahoma State. Probably more big plays in that game than maybe any game that we've seen in a long time here at Nebraska.
The Huskers, in front of another sea of red, were first to score on the 73-yard run by Ken Clark.
It was really a big motivational factor for the team. You know, we were up like 42-0 shortly after that. So I think it really broke the ice and kind of opened things up for us.
It was a play designed to go between the guard and the tackle, and I had tried to cut off the nose guard, and I remember I stopped. He fell down and I stopped, and I looked up. I thought the play was over. I thought maybe he'd been tackled for maybe 3 or 4 yard gain, and I look up and there's Ken streaking down the sidelines toward the end zone, and right then you could tell that everything was going to go right for us that day.
An 86-yard interception by Charles Fryer early in the game added to Nebraska's big day by stunning 10th-ranked Oklahoma State with a 35-0 first quarter. Clark earned Big 8 Offensive Player of the Week honors after rushing for an awesome 256 yards. Quarterback Steve Taylor continued his assault with 5 touchdowns as Nebraska pounded out 63 points with a pivotal Big 8 triumph over Oklahoma State. Needing one victory to assure a 27th consecutive winning season, the Huskers overwhelmed Kansas State 48-3. While recording back-to-back 200-yard rushing games, Ken Clark established himself in the tradition of great Nebraska runners, the 49ers' Roger Craig and Heisman winner Mike Rozier.
I think we had a very explosive offense. You know, you had to kind of be aware of what we were doing at all times because, you know, at any time somebody could break. And we came on strong towards the end of the year, and you know, a lot of people saw that. And, you know, you can't take it for granted.
The Huskers found depth in alternate I-back Tyrese Knox, who rushed for 100 yards and scored 4 TDs to ultimately crush the Wildcats. The next week found the Cornhuskers exhibiting strong character and the ability to come from behind. Harassed by a Missouri blitzing defense, Nebraska was unable to get rolling in the first half. The Huskers combined halftime adjustments with grit and determination to bring them back against a Big 8 rival primed for an upset. Trailing 9-0 in the third quarter and facing a 3rd and 22, Taylor barely beat a blitz, rifling a pass long downfield to tight end Todd Milliken. Milliken rambled the last 30 yards of an 82-yard TD play, the longest pass of Taylor's career. Flushed out of the pocket, in a 2nd and 10, Taylor scrambled to the Missouri 1, setting up a TD for Tyrese Knox that put the Huskers ahead for the first time, 14-9. In a seesaw battle, Nebraska faced a 3rd and 14 at its 30, and Taylor again scrambled. He threw a 59-yard strike to split end Nate Turner, setting up a go-ahead field goal.
He's a great player. He's a good leader for everybody on offense, and he leads by example. And he never really lets you get down on yourself. He's always there to pump people up, and he knows offense backward and forward. And he is a very integral part of the offense.
Using his instincts in the fourth quarter, with Missouri back in the lead, Taylor ran the read option, Spotting a hole in the Missouri defense, Taylor completed a handoff to fullback Brian Carpenter, who broke through for a 49-yard run that gave the Cornhuskers the lead for good. After their come-from-behind victory, Nebraska next had to battle Iowa State and harsh weather.
I've enjoyed the people, the fans, they're beautiful, which I think we have the best fans in America, and they're low, you know, it's 40 or 50 degrees below zero, and they're out there cheering you on.
Despite the wind chill factor of below zero and snow driven by 40-mile-an-hour winds, the Huskers were able to roll up 637 yards and a 51-16 victory. The final home game of the '88 season for Nebraska and 31 seniors brought the team face to face with the tough Colorado Golden Buffaloes. The game was a tense defensive struggle, broken only by Ken Clark's 2-yard touchdown run late in the third quarter. An NCAA record, 161st consecutive home sellout crowd enjoyed a total domination of the Buffaloes by the Nebraska defense. The end of the Colorado game marked the beginning of shootout week as the Huskers got set to meet the Oklahoma Sooners for the Big 8 title in one of the great rivalries of college football. The trip to Norman found the team solid in their resolve to break an Oklahoma Big 8 winning streak dating back to 1984.
I think it was probably the finest overall defensive game that we've played here since I've been head coach.
An 80-yard touchdown drive on Nebraska's first possession gave the Huskers all the points they would need as that sterling defensive effort kept Oklahoma out of the Nebraska end zone for the first time since 1942.
I think they come out showing they're definitely the best defensive line in the Big 8, if not the country.
Nebraska's black shirt defense held Oklahoma's powerful wishbone offense to 98 yards rushing and only 8 first downs. Ken Clark powered the Husker offense with 167 rushing yards, leading Nebraska to a coveted Big 8 championship.
You know, it's getting to the point where we're seniors. A lot of us, we're going to go out here and hadn't had a ring yet. And, you know, that doesn't happen in Nebraska very often. So definitely we went down there fired up, you know, anticipating that we were going to win the game, going to the Orange Bowl. And it worked out.
It was very nice to go down there and beat them in their house, pull the keys back out, and bring them back to Lincoln, and, you know, enjoy the victory. You know, it's a victory that, you know, is going to live with me forever.
So for the 20th year in a row, the longest string in the nation, the Nebraska Cornhuskers went bowling. Coach Tom Osborne's team appeared in the 55th Orange Bowl Classic against the hometown University of Miami Hurricanes.
Just looking forward to playing the game. That's the most important thing. We're going down there to play, go down there and work out very hard.
The local favorites never let one of the nation's leading offenses get on track. The only points for the Cornhuskers came on a 50-yard career-best field goal by Greg Barrios. The 1988 Big 8 champs will enter their 100th season this fall with records and winning streaks that are the envy of Division I football programs across the nation. From the competition on the field to academic excellence in the classroom, the Nebraska Cornhuskers' winning tradition is sure to continue in 1989. These 1988 Cornhusker football highlights have been presented by First Tier Banks of Nebraska.
We're very proud of this Nebraska football team winning the 1988 Big 8 championship. 1988 was a great season, and we'd like to thank the First Tier Banks for making this highlight film possible.